Hey, welcome. You know that feeling like there's a real tug of war happening inside your head? One part of you wants one thing and another part wants something completely different? Well, it turns out that's not just you. There's some incredible science behind that feeling. And today, we're going to dig right into it. I mean, this is the classic example, right? We all do it. You make this really solid, rational plan for the future. But then, in the heat of the moment, some impulse just takes over. So, what's with that gap between the person we want to be and what we actually do? That's what we're going to explore. And lucky for us, there's a really powerful model that helps it all make sense. So, how can we even begin to understand this internal battle? Well, for a long time now, psychologists and economists have used this incredibly useful idea called dual process theory. The easiest way to think about it, just imagine you have two totally different characters, two unique thinkers living inside your brain. All right, first up, let's meet System 1. We're going to call this one the rookie partner. This is your gut reaction. It is lightning fast, totally automatic, and it just runs on pure instinct and emotion. It's the part of you that sees a spider and you jump. Way before your brain has even had a chance to consciously think, oh, look, a spider, that might be dangerous. And then you've got its partner, System 2, the seasoned detective. And this one is the complete opposite. It is slow, it's deliberate, and man, it requires real, serious mental effort. This is the part of your brain you use to solve a tough math problem, or to weigh all the pros and cons of a huge decision. It's the you that consciously sits down and thinks things through. Okay, so when you put them side by side like this, the contrast really just pops. This whole framework, which was made famous by Daniel Kahneman in his book Thinking Fast and Slow, it basically gives us a language to talk about what's going on in our heads. So you have the rookie, who's all about these unconscious, intuitive jumps, and then the detective, who needs that conscious control and some real heavy lifting, mentally speaking. Now, this is not just some dusty old academic theory, okay? This model is used everywhere. We're talking economics, design, you name it, all to understand and even predict how we're going to behave in the real world. So let's look at a really concrete example. Okay, picture this. You're standing on a packed subway platform. You pull out your phone. You're looking at the transit app. Your System 1, the rookie, immediately spots a bright red icon next to your train. It's super crowded. And your instant emotional reaction is just, oh, no way. I do not want to get on that train. But right then, your System 2, the detective, wakes up and gets ready to actually look at the facts. And this is the perfect example of how they work together. Your rookie partner gives you that gut feeling, that initial nope, based on a simple red color. But then the detective crunches the numbers. Wait a minute, the next train isn't for 15 minutes. That's way too long to wait. And it makes a logical override. The final decision, it comes from System 2 taking the reins. And you see this exact same dynamic playing out all over the place. Think about behavioral economics. That's the battle between the impulsive rookie screaming, I want that cookie right now, and the detective trying to plan for your long-term health. Or in something like design, the rookie is where all those fast, wild, creative ideas come from during a brainstorm. But you absolutely need the detective to come in later and carefully shape those ideas into something that will actually work. So it's a really neat story, isn't it? The impulsive rookie versus the wise detective. It's clean, it makes sense. But here's the thing. In the last few years, scientists have started to realize that the picture is, well, quite a bit more complicated than that. Yeah, this quote from a 2019 review really nails the change in thinking. What researchers started to find was that this simple System 1 versus System 2 story, well, sometimes it was just a convenient way to explain things away, but it didn't always stand up when you really tested it. So yeah, the plot definitely started to thicken. So the big takeaway here is pretty simple. The classic model, it's still incredibly useful, but we now know that simple story isn't the whole story. So what does this more complicated picture actually look like? Well, recent research has given us some really cool updates. First, and this is a big one, intuition isn't always the biased, error-prone rookie. Turns out we can have fast, logical intuitions too. Second, our brains are actually pretty amazing at detecting conflict under the surface, even when our fast System 1 gives the wrong answer. And maybe most importantly, scientists don't really think of them as two separate brains anymore. It's much more accurate to think of them as two different types of processing that our one brain can switch between. Okay, so where does all of this leave us today? Well, this new, more nuanced understanding of how we think is opening up some absolutely fascinating new frontiers. And it's pushing our understanding not just of our own minds, but of artificial minds too. This table really lays out the evolution perfectly. You can see we've gone from thinking about two separate systems that are always fighting to seeing them more as different modes our brain can use, and they interact in really rich, complex ways. And our whole idea of intuition has gotten a major upgrade. It's not just about biased shortcuts anymore. It can be logical too. And maybe one of the coolest places this is all playing out is in artificial intelligence. I mean, AI developers are literally using this theory as a kind of metaphor to build better, more reliable systems. They're creating AIs that have that super fast System 1 style pattern recognition, but then they can also prompt them to use a slow, step-by-step System 2 style of reasoning called chain of thought. And doing this is a huge deal for helping reduce bias and those weird errors or hallucinations we hear about. Which leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. We started this whole journey by using a model of our own minds just to understand ourselves. But now we're using that exact same model to build smarter artificial minds. So if we can actually teach a machine to deliberately switch between that fast intuitive thinking and slow, careful reasoning to get a better result, what does that teach us about managing the two different ways of thinking inside our own brains?